What if everything you were taught about money was wrong? Your parents told you, go to school, get good grades, find a safe job, save money, buy a house, work hard until retirement. But what if that advice is exactly what's keeping you poor? Robert Kiyosaki grew up with two father figures. One was highly educated, held a government job, and worked hard all his life, yet died broke. The other barely finished 8th grade, owned multiple businesses, and retired a millionaire. Guess which one was his rich dad? This isn't just a book about finances. It's a paradigm shift. A slap in the face to everything society drilled into us about money. It challenges the comfortable lies we believe about jobs, saving, security, and flips them on their head. Whether you're 18 or 58, Rich Dad, Poor Dad will shake your mindset, then rebuild it with the bricks of financial truth most schools never dare to touch. And here's the kicker. Neither of the dads was perfect, but one of them understood how money really works. So what will you learn here? In this summary, we'll break down the real lessons behind Kiyosaki's stories, why a school fails you financially, the truth about assets versus liabilities, why this middle class stays stuck, how the rich legally avoid taxes, the 4 paths people follow in life, and how only one leads to real freedom, the secret to turning your money into your employee, and why financial literacy matters more than your college degree. Want to finally understand money the way the wealthy do? Want your money to work for you instead of the other way around? Then stick with us. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tap the bell icon if you want more powerful summaries just like this, where ideas don't just entertain, they change lives. Now let's dive into lesson number 1, the rich don't work for money. The poor and the middle class work for money. The rich have money work for them. Robert Kiyosaki. The story begins. It all starts when a 9-year-old Robert Kiyosaki asks his educated father, his poor dad, "Dad, how do I get rich?" Poor dad gives the answer you'd expect. "Use your head, son. Go to school, study hard, get a good job." But that didn't satisfy Robert. So he went to his best friend Mike's father instead, his future rich dad. This man owned multiple businesses and was quietly building wealth despite having little formal education. Rich Dad agreed to teach Robert and Mike about money, but in the weirdest way possible. He didn't sit them down and explain investments. He didn't give them a piggy bank, he put them to work. Sweeping floors and dusting cans at one of his small grocery stores for a measly 10 cents an hour. The boys hated it. After a few weeks, Robert snapped. He complained about the low pay and threatened to quit. That's when Rich Dad dropped his first bombshell. That's exactly how life treats most people. You get angry, you feel underpaid, and you look for another job instead of learning how money actually works. This was his first financial lesson. Most people trade time for money, forever. They become slaves to a paycheck, trapped in a cycle of working harder just to survive. Rich Dad's point? You can't get rich by working harder at a job. Why the rich don't chase paychecks? Let's break this down. When you work for a paycheck, you're taxed first. You trade time for limited money. You become addicted to security, not opportunity. That's what most of us are taught. Go to school, get a job, and earn more. But the more you earn, the more you spend. And the more you spend, the more you need that next paycheck. You're on what Kiyosaki calls the rat race wheel. Rich people, on the other hand, don't chase money. They create systems, assets, and businesses that make money without them. They understand this truth. It's not how hard you work. It's how smart your money works for you. So when Robert and Mike asked to make more money, Rich Dad didn't give them a raise. Instead, he taught them to look for opportunities. They noticed unused comic books at the store, took them, and set up a paid reading library in Mike's basement. Other kids paid to read comics, no more working for dimes. Now, money was flowing to them. It was a revelation. Even kids could create cash flow if they learned how. Key takeaways from Lesson 1. 1. Stop chasing money. Start studying how money moves. 2. A paycheck gives comfort, but also limits your growth. 3. Wealth comes from ownership, not employment. 4. Opportunities are invisible to those only trained to work harder. 5. The first step to wealth isn't a better job, it's a better mindset. Coming up. Next. Lesson 2. Why financial literacy beats academic intelligence. Before we jump in, quick reminder. If this breakdown is hitting you differently than a boring textbook ever did, make sure to subscribe, and support the channel. More real-world wisdom. More books that challenge what you think you know. And no fluff, ever. Now, let's get into the next chapter. The real difference between assets and liabilities. Let's dive into one of the most pivotal lessons from Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the one that redefines what you think you know about wealth. It's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep and how hard it works for you. The financial IQ wake-up call. According to Rich Dad, the single biggest financial mistake most people make is this. They don't know the difference between an asset and a liability. And guess what? Neither do schools. Neither do most adults. They confuse stuff that looks impressive, cars, big houses, designer brands, for things that actually build wealth. Robert learned this early on. His poor dad, a well-educated, hard-working man, bought a new house thinking it was an investment, but his rich dad disagreed. Your house is not an asset. It doesn't put money in your pocket. It takes money out. This blew Robert's mind. Wasn't a home the American dream? Wasn't owning a house the safest financial move? Not always, because Rich Dad defined assets and liabilities in the simplest, most brutally honest way. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out. That's it. No fluff, no technical jargon, just cash flow. Your car, liability. Your mortgage, liability. Your job, temporary. Your savings, shrinking due to inflation. Your true assets, those are the things that earn for you, even when you're asleep. Rich people focus on building and buying assets. Poor people buy stuff. Middle-class people buy liabilities, thinking they're assets. Real wealth. So what is an actual asset? Let's list the examples Kiyosaki gives. Businesses that don't require your presence. Stocks and bonds that generate dividends. Real estate that generates rental income. Royalties from intellectual property. Books, music, patents, notes or loans. You own that others pay you for. Digital products or platforms that earn while you sleep. And most importantly, assets. Make you money whether you work or not. That's how the rich keep getting richer. They don't work harder for higher salaries. They multiply their assets. And their assets do the heavy lifting. What the middle class does wrong. Here's what happens to most middle-class earners. 1. Get a raise. 2. Buy a nicer car. 3. Get a mortgage. 4. Swipe the credit card. 5. Add student loans. 6. Work harder to pay for it all. 7. Stay in debt forever. It looks successful on the outside. New house, new SUV, private schools, but underneath they're bleeding cash. They've built a prison out of liabilities. Meanwhile, someone earning less but buying income-producing assets will eventually have time, freedom, and financial peace. It's not about earning more, it's about owning more that earns. The Big Shift Rich Dad taught Robert a new rule. The rich focus on their asset columns, while everyone else focuses on their income statements. It's like this. Poor people have expenses and debt. Middle-class people have income, expenses, and growing liabilities. Rich people have income, expenses, and a growing asset column. Key takeaways from lesson number 2. 1. Know the real definition. Asset puts money in your pocket. Liability takes money out. 2. Buy things that generate cash flow, not just impress people. 3. The rich accumulate income-generating assets, not fancy lifestyle trophies. 4. Your house is not necessarily an asset unless it earns you money. 5. Don't upgrade your lifestyle with every raise. Upgrade your asset column instead. Up next. Lesson 3. mind your own business. This is where Robert learned that your job title is not your real identity, and the wealthy are always focused on building their own business, even while working for someone else. Let's continue with one of the most misunderstood principles in the book, and one that separates those who work forever from those who build lasting freedom. The mistake so many people make is that they think they are their job. Robert Kiyosaki, employee versus entrepreneur mentality. Robert's poor dad was a classic example of the employee mindset. He worked for the government, took pride in his title, and climbed the career ladder. But here's what Rich Dad warned. When you say, "I'm a teacher" or "I'm a banker," you're giving your power away. That's not who you are. That's just who you work for. Rich Dad believed you should always be minding your own business, even if you work in someone else's. Let's unpack what that means. What is your business? Rich Dad told Robert something radical. Your profession is not your business. Your business is what you're building to achieve freedom. For most people, their profession, where they earn their paycheck, their business. They don't have one. That's the problem. If your entire financial life is tied to your salary, your employer owns your time, your future, and your freedom. But when you build your own income-producing machine code on the side, whether it's real estate, stocks, products, digital ventures, or a small brand, you start creating independence. And yes, you can build your business while still working a job. In fact, Rich Dad encouraged it. Robert did exactly that. He worked in Xerox during the day, but used his nights to build investments and assets. He minded his business, not just his boss's. The power of keeping it separate. Kiyosaki says this very clearly. The rich focus on building their asset column, not their income statement. That means they don't inflate their lifestyle with every pay bump. They don't spend to impress others. They direct every spare dollar into things that will eventually make money for them. It's not about becoming a business owner in the traditional sense. It's about creating a stream of income that doesn't rely on your labor. Robert's own first big success came from investing in small real estate properties that paid rental income. That was his business, not his corporate job. Here's the trap most people fall into. 1. Get a job, feel secure. 2. Make more money, spend more money. 3. Have no time, say I'll build something later. 4. Work harder, still broke. 5. Get laid off, panic. Rich people flip this entirely. They use their jobs to fund their outside ventures. They build income streams until those income streams set them free. It's not about quitting your job tomorrow. It's about thinking like an owner, not just a worker. Key takeaways from Lesson 3. 1. Your job is not your identity, it's a temporary vehicle. 2. Your business, your growing asset base, mind it. 3. Build something that pays you, even when you're not working. 4. Don't spend your life building someone else's dream. 5. Use your salary to invest in your own exit strategy. Coming up, Lesson 4, the history of taxes and how the rich legally avoid them. Get ready for a lesson that will make you rethink everything you know about taxes. The rich don't just make more, they keep more. And they do it using systems the average person never learns. Let's dive into one of the most eye-opening and controversial chapters in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. How the rich play by a completely different set of rules when it comes to taxes. The rich don't pay taxes the way the poor and middle class do. It's not about cheating, it's about understanding the game. Robert Kiyosaki. Taxes weren't always for everyone. Here's something history classes conveniently gloss over. Income tax, something we all assume is normal and fair, was originally meant for the rich only. In fact, the first permanent U.S. income tax was introduced in 1913. It was sold to the public with this idea: let's tax the wealthy to pay for public services. Sounds noble, right? But here's what happened, and it's the same story in every country. Once the government starts collecting money, it wants more. Over time, that tax burden shifts from the wealthy to the middle class. Why? Because the rich learned the rules. They understood how to shelter wealth, create legal deductions, and build corporations that protect them. Everyone else, they just paid the bill. The corporation, the rich man's magic trick. One of the most powerful tools the wealthy use is the corporation. Poor and middle-class people earn money like this. 1. Earn income. 2. Get taxed. 3. Spend what's left. But the rich use corporations and business structures to reverse the flow. 1. Earn money. 2. Spend through the business. Write-offs, deductions, reinvestments. 3. Pay tax on what's left. And often, what's left is very little. A corporation is simply a legal entity that does what a rich person does. It makes money, spends it all, and is taxed on what's left. They deduct everything from business lunches and phones to travel, education, and even vehicles, as long as it serves the business. Meanwhile, employees pay taxes before they even touch their paycheck. It's a financial power move, and it's 100% legal, because the system was written by and for those who understand it. Kiyosaki doesn't say this to encourage tax evasion. He says it to wake people up to the idea that the rules aren't fair and you need to learn them if you want to win. The fairness illusion. Most of us are taught that taxes are fair, that they're a duty. But Rich Dad pointed out, the wealthy uninfluence tax policy, through lobbying. They shift the system to reward investment and business creation, not salaried work. They give jobs, so governments court them. The middle class, they don't get squeezed from both ends. Little leverage, no protection. That's why Kiyosaki urges people to learn the system. Don't complain, don't whine. Learn the game, then beat the game. And the game is rigged, in favor of financial literacy. Key takeaways from Lesson 4. 1. Taxes weren't meant for the masses, but the burden shifted. 2. The rich use corporations to minimize taxes legally. 3. Employees are taxed first, owners are taxed last. 4. You don't beat the system by protesting, you beat it by understanding it. 5. Financial education, freedom from getting exploited by the rules. Coming up. Next. Lesson 5. The rich invent money. This one's a game changer. It's not just about saving or investing, it's about seeing opportunity where others see risk, and literally inventing income from knowledge. Let's keep the momentum going. This next lesson is where Rich Dad Poor Dad really breaks away from traditional thinking and shows how the rich don't just manage money, they create it. Money is not real, it's an idea. Robert Kiyosaki. What does it mean to invent money? It sounds like something out of a magician's playbook. The rich invent money. But it's not smoke and mirrors. It's mindset, plus education, plus creativity. Let's be clear. The rich don't sit around waiting for jobs, raises, or even stable markets. They create wealth from nothing, by spotting value where others see fear, doubt, or chaos. They make money through ideas. And those ideas are backed by action and courage. Here's how it works in real life, the window that most people miss. Robert Kiyosaki tells the story of a property he once bought that others ignored. There was a foreclosure notice. The area seemed bad. People hesitated, banks hesitated, but Kiyosaki didn't. He used financial education to spot the value, understand the true worth of the location, negotiate with confidence, use other people's money, leverage to secure the deal, sell it shortly after for a huge profit. To the average eye, it looked risky or reckless, but to someone financially literate, it was low risk, high reward. Because he knew how to play the game. This is the essence of inventing money. You don't need $1 million. You need the ability to see opportunity, take action, and make something valuable happen. Why schools can't teach this? In school, we're taught to memorize facts, avoid mistakes, follow rules, stay inside lines, but that creates people who are risk-averse, approval-seeking, and scared of failure. Rich Dad taught the opposite. Take calculated risks. Learn from mistakes. Use imagination to create solutions. That's the muscle the rich use to invent money. Opportunities are not seen with your eyes. They are seen with your mind. Rich Dad. Fear and self-doubt. missed wealth. This lesson is also about emotional control. Most people let fear stop them. Fear of debt, fear of rejection, fear of losing money, fear of looking stupid, so they stay in safe jobs. They sit on ideas. They ignore opportunities. Meanwhile, the rich lean into the fear, but they do it with knowledge. They know how to do due diligence, how to run numbers, how to hedge risk, how to structure deals. That's what allows them to move faster, act with confidence, and create money from thin air. Key takeaways from Lesson 5. 1. Money isn't real, it's an idea. 2. The rich don't wait for money, they create opportunities through education. 3. Financial intelligence, the ability to spot value others miss. 4. The biggest obstacle is usually fear, not lack of money. 5. If you learn to manage risk, you can manufacture wealth. Coming up next, Lesson 6. Work to learn, don't work for money. This one takes a jab at the education system and shows why the rich chase skills, not just salaries. Let's jump into one of the most misunderstood ideas in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, one that challenges the entire modern career system. The more specialized you become, the more you are trapped. Robert Kiyosaki's school teaches you to be a cog. From a young age, we're told, get good grades, specialize in a career, work your way up, retire comfortably. This sounds logical, but it's a trap. According to Rich Dad, schools create employees, not entrepreneurs. They reward obedience over curiosity, repetition over innovation, fear of mistakes over calculated risk. What's the result? People enter adulthood, financially illiterate, yet deeply trained in one skill set, engineering, law, teaching, accounting, and they spend a lifetime trading hours for money. And if that job disappears, they're stuck. Rich Dad's secret: learn many skills. Rich Dad taught Robert something schools never would. The rich become rich because they are generalists. They know a little about a lot. He insisted Robert work jobs, not for money, but for learning. That's why Robert sold Xerox copiers, even though he didn't want to be in sales. Why? Because Rich Dad said, you must learn to sell. If you can't sell, you can't lead, you can't grow, you can't control your own financial future. So Robert made himself uncomfortable on purpose. He learned public speaking, marketing, real estate, investing, and more. Each skill stacked on top of the next. This is the opposite of what Poor Dad advised. Poor Dad believed, specialize, get promoted, stay safe. But that mindset only creates one: dependency on a paycheck. It's about the skill stack. Wealthy people don't just work jobs, they work to develop skills that help them communicate ideas clearly, lead teams, read markets, sell solutions, negotiate deals, understand numbers, build systems. Kiyosaki calls it your My Financial Toolbox. And if you only have a hammer, you'll be stuck pounding nails for someone else your entire life. You don't need to be amazing at everything, you just need enough knowledge. In several areas to start ventures, recognize opportunity, build or buy businesses, manage people, multiply capital. Robert's real-world example. He tells of friends who were highly paid doctors and lawyers, great specialists but trapped by high expenses, long hours, little flexibility, fear of change. Robert, on the other hand, had fewer credentials, but more versatility. That gave him freedom, not just money, time and choice. The rich aren't the smartest, they are the most adaptable. Key takeaways from Lesson 6. 1. Don't specialize too soon, build a wide skill stack. 2. Learn sales, communication, and marketing, no matter your profession. 3. Take jobs that teach you, not just pay you. 4. The more skills you master, the more opportunities you create. 5. Security is the enemy of growth. Embrace discomfort for the sake of learning. Coming up next, Lesson 7. Overcoming obstacles. Why most people never get rich. This is the part where mindset takes center stage, and we break down the 5 reasons even smart people stay broke. Let's now explore one of the most brutally honest chapters in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. A lesson that dives deep into the psychological barriers that keep most people financially stuck, no matter how smart or educated they are. The primary difference between a rich person and a poor person is how they manage fear. Robert Kiyosaki. Smart people, still broke? Here's the painful truth Rich Dad taught Robert early on. Being smart doesn't make you rich. Working hard doesn't make you rich. Even earning a lot doesn't make you rich. So why do most people stay poor or middle class? Because they never overcome the internal barriers that sabotage them financially. Kiyosaki lists 5 specific obstacles that keep people poor, regardless of how much they earn. Let's break them down. 1. Fear. Everyone has fear. It's what you do with that fear that matters. Most people are afraid of losing money, so they never invest, never start, never take calculated risks. They wait, and wait, and wait. They tell themselves, I don't know enough yet. The market's not right. I can't afford to lose. Meanwhile, the wealthy learn how to manage risk and take action anyway. The difference, rich people don't avoid fear. They learn how to navigate in it. Winners are not afraid of losing, but losers are. Failure is part of the process of success. 2. Cynicism. The sky is falling, the market's crashing, you'll lose everything. Sound familiar? Cynics see all the reasons something won't work. They believe every worst-case scenario and assume they're being realistic. In truth, they're being paralyzed by doubt, usually inherited from others. Parents, news, social media, fearful friends. But Rich Dad taught Robert to do the math, not react emotionally. Don't ask, what if I lose? Ask, what's the upside if I win? And how can I manage the downside? 3. Laziness. Not always physical laziness. Often it's emotional laziness disguised as busyness. You might hear someone say, I'm too busy to learn investing. I don't have time to read books. I'll think about that after things settle down. But Rich Dad points out, busy people are often the laziest when it comes to financial growth. They'll work 60 hours a week for a paycheck, but never carve out 2 hours to learn how money works. The antidote? Be greedy for knowledge and delegate tasks you don't need to do personally, so you can focus on building assets. 4. Bad habits. Many people pay themselves last, after bills, rent, and impulse spending. Kiyosaki says, the rich pay themselves first, even if it's risky, even if there's not enough left to pay the rest. Why? Because it forces them to figure it out. It creates hunger, urgency, solutions. Meanwhile, the poor wait until everything else is paid, and then say, there's nothing left to save or invest. Habits make or break fortunes. 5. Arrogance. This one is sneaky. It's when people think they know enough and stop learning. They say, that won't work for me. I already know how to manage money. I read a book once. I'm good. But the moment you believe you know it all, you stop growing. Kiyosaki says, every time I've been arrogant, I've lost money. Every time I've been humble and kept learning, I've gained. Financial intelligence is a lifelong practice. Key takeaways from lesson number 7. 1. You must learn to manage fear, not wait for it to disappear. 2. Doubt kills more dreams than failure ever could. 3. Time excuses are often laziness in disguise. 4. Pay yourself first, even if it hurts. 5. Stay humble, stay hungry, stay learning. Coming up next. Lesson number 8. Getting started. Your first steps to wealth. In this section, Kiyosaki lays out exactly how to begin. With no money, no experience. Let's now move into a practical, action-oriented part of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This is where the theory ends and the one path to financial freedom begins. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step and a little bit of financial education. Robert Kiyosaki. You've heard the lessons. Don't work for money, make money work for you. Buy assets, not liabilities. Mind your own business. Learn the game of money. But where the heck do you begin? Robert Kiyosaki lays out 10 practical steps that anyone can take to begin building wealth, starting now. No rich family, no big paycheck, no MBA required, Just mindset, action, and consistency. Step 1. Find a strong reason, the why. If your why is strong enough, the how will come. You need emotional fuel. A vision that drives you, not just "I want more money." Ask, what kind of life do you want? What are you trying to escape? Who are you doing this for? Rich Dad taught money is emotional. It reflects your clarity, your drive, and your courage. Write down your reasons. Read them daily. Step 2. Choose to learn, not to be right. Rich people are own students of money. They read books, they attend seminars, they network with investors, they ask dumb questions, they seek mentors. Kiyosaki urges, don't pretend to be an expert. Be a sponge. The world is full of financial teachers, but most people are too proud or scared to listen. Learn one new thing about money every day. Step 3. Master power over choice, not circumstance. People say, "I can't afford it." That's not realistic. Maybe next year. Rich Dad said, stop saying, "I can't." Start asking, "How can I?" Those 3 words shift you from a victim to creator. You don't need the perfect moment. You need permission from yourself to begin. Step 4. Know a little about a lot. Don't obsess over being an expert in one thing. Instead, learn a little about sales, a little about taxes, a little about marketing, a little about investments. You're building a money toolkit. The more tools you have, the more problems you can solve, and the more wealth you can build. Step 5. Pay yourself first. This isn't just saving money. This is building the habit of treating yourself like the most important bill you'll ever pay. No matter your income, set aside money first for investments, education, assets, then handle everything else. This trains your brain to value ownership over obligations. Step 6. Pay for good advice. The poor say, "I can't afford a lawyer, accountant, coach." The rich say, "I can't afford not to." A good advisor saves you from dumb decisions, helps you legally avoid taxes, spots red flags before you do, sees opportunities you miss. Don't be cheap with guidance. One good tip can change your life. Step 7. Pick heroes, then study them. Find people who've done what you want to do. Real estate moguls, angel investors, business creators, stock traders. Read their books, watch their interviews, model their mindset. Success leaves clues. Most people just aren't looking. Step 8. Teach what you learn. When you teach others, you remember it better. You also attract people who help you grow. Start a blog, create a YouTube channel, mentor a friend. The rich understand. Your network, your net worth. Step 9. Take action. Every day. You don't get rich by reading alone. You get rich by making that call, touring that property, running those numbers, asking that mentor, clicking buy on that first investment action. Begets clarity. Don't wait to feel ready. Start, then adjust. Step 10. Don't quit. You will lose money at some point. You will make dumb decisions. You will feel stupid. Good. That means you're learning. Rich Dad told Robert, losers quit when they fail. Winners fail until they win. Key takeaways from lesson number 8. 1. Begin with a powerful why. 2. Commit to learning even when it's uncomfortable. 3. Build small habits that create big leverage. 4. Invest in people, books, and mentors. 5. Take imperfect action and don't stop. Coming up next. Lesson number 9. Still want more? Here's what to do now. This is the wrap-up chapter, where Kiyosaki challenges you to stop just knowing what to do and start doing it. He even gives a checklist to begin immediately. Here we go, the final chapter of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad summary. This is where Robert Kiyosaki stops telling stories and starts handing you the keys. No more theory, just action. The world is full of smart, talented, educated people, but only a few become rich because only a few take action. Robert Kiyosaki. So you've read the lessons, you get it. Don't chase paychecks. Buy assets. Build your own business. Learn, adapt, grow. Now what? Robert ends the book with a practical challenge, a list of next steps anyone can take to begin the journey. This isn't about reading more books. This is about becoming a doer, not just a dreamer. Step 1. Stop saying, "I can't." Every time you catch yourself saying, "I can't afford that," "I'm not smart enough," "That's too risky," replace it with, "How can I afford that? Who can teach me? What's the smallest step I can take today?" Wealth starts in your language. Change your self-talk and you start changing your outcome. Step 2. Start small. You don't need a $1 idea or a real estate empire tomorrow. Start here. Buy one share of a dividend stock. List one item for sale online. Save $10 before paying bills. Watch one financial YouTube video. Read one investment book. Call one financially successful person you know. Momentum mastery. Step 3. Track your real wealth. Forget your salary. Track your monthly cash flow. Your assets versus liabilities. Your net worth. Over time, this is your real report card. If your net worth isn't growing, you're not moving forward. If your assets aren't generating income, you're still a worker, not an owner. Step 4. Surround yourself with builders. Poor Dad was surrounded by other employees. Rich Dad was surrounded by investors, entrepreneurs, mentors, risk takers, people asking how, not why not. Find people building wealth and spend time with them. Even if it's through books, podcasts, or online communities, you become who you hang around. Step 5. Study patterns, not products. Don't just chase hot stocks or trends. Study why some investments win, why others lose, what wealthy people did consistently, what habits they formed early. It's not about copying. It's about understanding how the game is played. Step 6. Make the lessons yours. Reread this summary. Then write your own. Yes, actually write it in your own words. It will force you to digest what matters most. Write down what you learned, what you misunderstood, what action you'll take today. That's how you turn a book into results. Final words from Kiyosaki. Robert ends the book not with answers, but with you a challenge. If you want to be rich, you must educate yourself financially. That's the only way to escape the rat race. You don't need to be born rich. You don't need to be brilliant. You don't need a perfect plan. You need the courage to start, the discipline to learn, and the hunger to keep going. If this breakdown shook something loose in you, if you're ready to start doing instead of just dreaming, then this is your moment. Subscribe now and join a growing community of readers who take action. We dive deep into powerful books, extract what matters, and turn it into results. Not fluff, not theory, just real tools for real change. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. Your future self is waiting.